Hello and welcome to the Franchise Marketing Show. The video or the podcast you're about to watch or listen to was recorded at the British and International Franchise Exhibition at Olympia. It was a very busy event, so there was a little bit of background noise, so it wasn't filmed in a recording studio or anything like that, but it is a really interesting conversation. Hope you enjoy it.
Hello and welcome to the Franchising Marketing Show. We're here live at the British and International Franchise Exhibition Olympia. I'm Paul Clegg, and welcome Tommy.
Thank you, Paul.
I just want to introduce yourself. If you give me a little background, who you are and what it is that you do, and then we'll move on to some questions from there.
Okay, that's the easy part, Paul. My name is Tommy Nevin. I am, what's sort of commonly called these days as a sort of multi-brand, multi-site franchisee. So I'm very fortunate that the brands that I have a partnership with are sort of very well-known, sort of market-leading brands. So we have relationships with EE in the mobile retail space. So we operate 3 sites in the west of Scotland for EE. Also with BT, where we represent BT in the sort of B2B space and BT local business, and we cover all of Scotland for that. So we went from sort of just the west of Scotland, 2018, east of Scotland we took over in 2020, and April last year we took over North Scotland as well. So we now cover all of Scotland for BT and the B2B space. And April last year we opened our first Regis site for IWG, who operate the brands Regis, Spaces, HQ, so serviced offices. So again, sort of quite not so much a diverse sort of group of brands. There's synergies between the brands. When we started, again, I guess the objective wasn't that we were going to work with all of these sort of different brands, doing all of these sort of different things. Doing one thing well has led to doing the next thing, creating the opportunities, so from a retail, B2C, B2B, and also within the sort of property space. So there's a lot of common sort of themes and grounds sort of within them, but again, not difficult brands to want to work with on the basis that the market share and the reputation and the opportunity. So that's pretty much where we are.
That's amazing. I'm really pleased to hear your story there in terms of the brands you're associated with. But tell me a little bit more about your journey to franchising. How did you find franchising?
I absolutely love franchising. In terms of how I got into franchising, again, just the sort of stars aligned a little bit. It wasn't something I was looking at. I actually worked for EE pre-becoming a franchisee. I had been looking at different options and sort of different sort of business options. I've always had that inner desire to want to work for myself, which I think most people have. But I guess the hard part is making that leap, or what's perceived as taking the risk, so to speak. So I guess if you're going to do that, then the risk is largely mitigated by the fact that it's your own business, but you're operating under the umbrella of a well-established market-leading brand with all the support and infrastructure and whatever else comes with that. So I was working for EE back in, I'm just doing some mental math here now. This is 2024, isn't it? So it would have been about 2014, I think, when the journey started. And again, sort of serendipity. I'm sat in my office working for EE, and I'm reading a sort of trade article, and it was about franchising and how EE were looking to expand their retail footprint through franchising, and how they were really struggling for franchisees in Scotland. So I'm sat there in Scotland working for EE, looking for an opportunity to do my own thing, and I don't know anything about this. So it was like a bolt of lightning. It was like, this is perfect. So I guess a little bit naively I thought that because I worked for EE, sort of middle manager, relatively well known, 10 years with them back to sort of T-Mobile days. I thought I was a shoo-in.
Yep.
You know, pick up the phone. Who's running this department? It's me. I want to do
Where
this.
do I sign?
Yeah, where do I sign? You know, what stores are available? That sort of type thing. But I mean, they made me jump through a lot of hoops to actually, which was good. You know, at the time you're thinking, God, what's all this? But it prepared you really well. You know, it was
good.
almost an endurance test.
Yeah.
So it was like a year before you got to the other side. So you had to go through basically the same selection process as what any external applicant would sort of have gone sort of through. So I, you know, as I say, I was sat there working for EE, looking for an opportunity. The opportunity fell in my lap. I pursued it, and 2016 we opened the first store, which was in Kilmarnock, Ayrshire, west of Scotland. Probably about 6 months later, we opened the second store, Motherwell, and within a year we had the 3 stores operating, and all very successfully. So as I say, one thing sort of led to the next. Then latterly, BT bought EE.
Right.
And, you know, again, if you establish a reputation, you know, if you do things well, people get to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, what you're about, how you operate, what your values are, what your culture is, and other opportunities start to present themselves. So representing EE, BT came in, they were looking for operators in the sort of B2B space, small business. So we took that on as an extension and sort of grew that over the years, and then as we've looked for sort of bigger office space, then that was how sort of Regis sort of side of it came in. So again, we were looking for office space, and you know, looked at Regis and then thought, is this a franchise? So for me, I mean, franchising it's absolutely brilliant. You know, it's in terms of different sectors, different opportunities, different sizes. But you know, I'm not an inventor. I'm not a rocket scientist. I couldn't build a brand if my life depended on it. You know, so that, you know, business in a box model, tried and tested propositions. You know, in terms of building teams and sales.
That's what you're good at.
That's what I'm good
at.
at.
And brilliant.
You know, so it all stems from, as I say, that. Sort of
it's amazing timing with everything coming
brilliant.
together for you.
Fantastic.
So when you sat there and you started to make those positive steps to learn more about franchising, learn more about this opportunity that was presented to you, did you ever think you were going to be a multi-unit franchise owner?
No, I didn't. You always believe that you can grow a business, you know, but you know, I think you need to be careful that you don't get ahead of yourself. You know, I'm a big believer in the 2 enemies of success are greed and impatience. You know, and I think, you know, you sort of guard against them. But you know, you grow within your own business. Yeah. You know, once I think you get that first opportunity and you get those early successes and you can see the transformation, you've overshot, you know, your own forecasts and your own projections, and you sort of feel ready for the next opportunity. And I've always found that most of the opportunities that I've had have just sort of come to me because we've done well.
You've got the reputation to build.
You've got the reputation to build, and again, you know, I'm very fortunate. You know, it's not just me. I've got business partners, you know, as well. So again, the people that I work with, the people that I'm in business with, it's important that you find the right people.
Definitely.
People you can trust, but also people that can do different things to you. You know, I think a bunch of guys or a bunch of directors that have all got the same skill sets or whatever will be falling over each other and falling out with each other. So I think, you know, just make sure that you've got those different areas of expertise and different qualities that, you know, you can bring to the business.
That's amazing to hear. And as you look back again, I think it's not just by accident that you've managed to achieve what you have. What would you say was the secret of your success?
I think it's, you know, sort of self-praise is no praise, so to speak. It's always difficult to, you know, reflect and think, you know, why have I been successful, or why am I sort of good at that or whatever. But I genuinely believe it's more around the, you know, just when you're working for a big organisation, you know, you're following someone else's rules, someone else's vision, someone else's you know, targets, objectives, and more often than not, the things that you achieve are benefiting someone else more than you sort of personally. So you know, I think for me it's more about just the being yourself, being able to express yourself, be the person, be the leader that you've always wanted to be, rather than trying to fit in within an organisation. But if I could say one thing I would highlight is I would describe myself as more of a generalist. I know a little bit about everything.
I know that feeling.
You know, well, yeah, the jack of all trades, master of none, you know, whatever else. So I know a little bit about everything, and I think that's very helpful when, again, you've gone from working for big corporates. You know, I worked in financial services as well for RBS, T-Mobile, EE, and so on and so forth. But you know, where you've got massive. You're a corporate bosom, I like to refer to it as. You know, you've got all the support, you've got all the departments, all the infrastructures, and then all of a sudden, you're on your own. And having that little bit of knowledge of, you know, how most things sort of work is a real benefit. Whereas I've seen people who, you know, very clever, very intelligent, you know, legal backgrounds, accountancy backgrounds, HR backgrounds, but they're experts.
They don't know what they don't know.
They don't know what they don't know. They're experts in one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, brilliant at the one thing that they do. But running a business is very, very different to being an expert in one thing. And I think as you grow, you need those experts, because those experts will save you a lot of money and they'll save you a lot of time, and you can focus on your business. But I think having that generalist sort of skill set, which is very underestimated. You know, there's not many people out there that know a little bit about finance, know a little bit about legal, employment law, sales, service, processes, systems, supply chains, marketing, and just having a little bit of knowledge of everything as a small business owner, rather than being an expert in something. So I would say that's probably a big factor.
That's great, and it kind of leads on into this next question in terms of what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's looking to expand their current operation and perhaps move into multi-unit ownership?
You know, I mentioned earlier, you know, the sort of greed and the impatience element. You know, I think you will know when the time is right. You know, I guess, you know, you need to, it's not just about you choosing the opportunity or the brand carefully. It's about the brand choosing you carefully. You know, again, I also mentioned about, you know, the jumping through the hoops. I think, again, if you're successful in, you know, one particular sector or in one particular area, it doesn't automatically mean that is immediately going to replicate itself in another sector for another brand in another area. So again, you know, complacency, I would always say, you need to guard against. You know, make sure you do the due diligence. Success leaves clues. So, you know, in terms of choosing that brand, within the franchise world, you know, if there will be existing operators who are doing well from it, speak to them. You know, again, I've always found that, you know, in terms of giving my own time, but, you know, anyone that is interested in franchise or anyone that's interested in expanding within, you know, franchises, speak to the people that are operating in it. The time that people will give you.
It is amazing, isn't it? The franchise sector is so open to help each other like no other sector that I've
and I think mainly because, you know, a lot of franchises are geographic, so you're not competing. You know, you're not opening the same type of business next door. You're opening the same business in another geographical location. You know, that's what you're buying within the franchises, you know, the territory. So, you know, because you're not competing with each other, then, you know, you'll find that the willingness to help and support and advise and whatever else is very free and forthcoming. So, you know, speak to people, don't be complacent, make sure that, you know, in terms of the selection process, that their selection process is rigorous as well. It's not a check your pulse and shows your bank balance sort of situation. And if there are synergies, you know, again, sort of common themes between the types of businesses, mobile retail and telecoms, there are similarities. Even as I say, the sort of Regis, the, you know, sort of serviced office sort of space, again, the sort of sales themes, the service themes. And ironically, when you do scale up, you get more economies of scale within your business, because again, those sort of core elements can support all of those businesses and all of those brands, albeit the front end might look a little bit different, but it's the same behind the sort of curtain, so to speak. So anyone who's operated a franchise and done it successfully, they'll know what they need to do. And, as long as
they'll spot the signs in the opportunity they're looking
they'll
at.
spot the signs, and they will know people
Yeah.
who they can go and speak to who are already operating in that space, or they'll know what their reputation is, and whatever else. But as I say, in a twisted sort of way, it actually gets easier as you get bigger.
Yes.
But it's just making sure you've got the foundations right in your existing
You know
business.
more. You've got obviously the support behind with your own
Yes.
teams as well, and those experts as well can help build the right picture.
Yeah, I mean,
Can't they, to go forward.
I got some advice from a wise man once upon a time, someone who I respected an awful lot in the franchise community, and his mantra was build, operate, transfer. So, and the way I interpret that is, the build element is you've taken over that business. You need to be in that business. You need to understand that business. You need to wear the t-shirt. You need to know what the customer journey looks like. You need to get to know your staff, your employees, your teams. What is it they experience every day? What systems are they using? How do they operate? And then, so the build or the buy element, and then you've got the operate side of things. So you operate it, and then it's a transfer. So when you know that business is strong, it's stable, it's performing well, you need to be looking at who is the guy now in this business that when I step out, that person steps in, and then that allows me
Go to the next one.
to go to the next one. But you've got the confidence that nobody's ever going to run your business the way you run your business. But as long as you've laid the right foundations, you've put in the right people, then
And the franchise model should be there to support it as well, shouldn't it? So
absolutely.
it's learning, get the ropes for that.
100%.
And put the checks and balances in there.
Yeah.
So on that journey, what has been the most difficult thing for you to do? I'm not talking about your first franchise operation in terms of where you're going to multi-units. What was the hardest transition for you to that? Is it the letting go, or is it other things in building the team?
It's the letting go, especially at the start. It's your baby. The biggest risk that you can take is the first one. You feel more comfortable with the next one because you've been through the process.
If it's the same model, it works because it's providing you resources.
Yeah.
So
I think that the hardest bit for me is I actually enjoy being on the shop floor, spending time with the guys, having a laugh, having a joke, being in the mix sort of type thing. That's what gives me the most satisfaction. It's not being sat from afar, getting a report through at the end of the day, seeing, how things are, or picking up the phone and, whatever. It's being dynamic and being in the business. But as you get bigger, more sites, and you transcend into different brands, before you know it, you're operating from 7, 8 different locations. You've got over 100 employees, and it's very difficult for you to be that sort of dynamic, front-facing, and working in with the guys. So I think for me that was the hard part, was the letting go and not having as much of the day-to-day interaction that I sort of previously had. But you still try and maintain that as much as you can as well. It's always good to just go and spend a day on the shop floor, with the front line, and just seeing how things are evolving and how customers are changing and how people's wants and needs are changing and what the next shiny thing coming along is, especially in technology.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
In terms of how that's just helping and shaping things as well. So, and I guess as a multi-unit owner within one brand especially, they'll listen to you more as well, so you get to help influence the development of that brand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. From an EEBT and Regis perspective, so they're not pure franchise brands. They have their own company-owned parts of the business. So, and more often than not, franchise outperforms the company-owned locations for one simple reason: they're owner-operated. It's Tommy Nevin operating free.
Yeah, the passion. The manager doesn't replicate that in most circumstances.
They don't. But again, if you're working, you're part of the big machine. Nobody really knows who you are. Maybe the manager does, or the area manager, or whatever else. But the fact that you've got that interaction with the guy that owns the business, and we look after people well. Again, you've got that benchmark of what the company owned are doing, and if people are performing well, we've got the right incentives in place, then we pay more. So the earning potential is sometimes greater, and then you start to get that reputation that actually they're really good to work for, and then people start champing your door, wanting to come and work for you rather than the sort of company sort of type thing, because you've got a different culture, you've got just different values, a different way of doing things. You're not as constrained by, I've got a great idea, or you need to put that in writing, I'll send it up to head office, and then they'll come back 3 months later and say, we can't do that because we would then need to do it, here and there, and whatever else. So it's great that you can just come up with an idea and just implement it, and then what you'll see is, the numbers are all there. The company will look at that, what are they doing, and then look at trying to implement some of those ideas and practices.
How you build the culture, how do we bring that into the corporate offices, or those kind of things.
So it's about being that entrepreneurial flair, if you want to call it that. Just being able to do things quickly, which in a big corporate environment you can't do things quickly. You need things agreed, signed off, the higher management. Let's pilot this, let's review the results, and let's just forget it. Started in the summer, it's now the winter.
Yeah, the opportunity's gone.
The opportunity's gone, whatever. So it's great that you can do things quickly. And you do things quickly in the work, you keep doing them. If they don't work, you can just stop doing them.
That's brilliant. So turning to you, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What is it that excites you about what you're doing? Because you'll have gone through a lot of emotions on your journey.
Yeah.
So what is it today that sort of gets you out of bed?
I love doing what I'm doing. I love the cut and thrust. I love the fact that every day is different. Most days are different. Whatever went yesterday is going to be different tomorrow. And if you're riding a bit of a wave, you're on the surfboard, and everything's going really well. You know that's not going to be the way it's going to be forever. So you're waiting to get knocked off the board, and and then when you get knocked off the board, you realise that it's a bit shit at the moment. Sorry. But it's not going to stay that way forever again either. There's another wave going to be sort of coming along. So it's the unpredictability. It is the excitement. I love the brands. I love the sectors. I love the people. We're doing well. So it's easy to get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. I've got 3 kids as well that need to get to school. So
that's a big incentive as well, isn't it?
That gets me out of bed. So, but no, I'm an early riser. I enjoy getting up early. I enjoy the peace and tranquility of the morning. I'll probably get more done in the first hour and a half before anybody gets up than I will the rest of the day. So I love that time in the morning where there's nobody else there. My phone's not going to ring. Emails aren't dropping in left, right and centre. There's no emergencies, there's no dramas, and I can just power through lots of things that I need to do ahead of the day, because once 9 o'clock comes, that is when the unpredictability element of things kicks in. So
brilliant. So as you look for new opportunities, do you do a conscious decision that when you get to a certain level of looking at different sectors to spread the risk across different sectors? Does that enter your mind?
Yes, yeah. So I wouldn't say that we were actively looking at the next opportunity, but we are ready if an opportunity presents itself. As I said earlier, that we've been fortunate in that we've just done things, done it well, and the opportunities have come to us. So we've had a few other opportunities in recent times that have come to us. We've looked at them and decided that for one reason or another, we're not pursuing them. Good businesses and good people, but just not the right time for us or the right sectors. I guess the last couple of years, post-pandemic, things have changed. retail's changed, food and beverage has changed, operating models have changed, customer demand has changed, and you know, for me, things really haven't settled down yet. Well, they have settled down, but they could change again in an instant. So I don't see enough stability at the moment that, you know, would make me want to jump in to a certain sector until some of the volatility and I guess the economy sort of changes, whether it's interest rates, whether it's inflation, cost of living, energy costs, you know, labour costs. There's just a lot going on at the moment.
There is a lot going on.
That makes you, you know, just wait until it settles down. And again, going back to the impatience and sort of grade part and whatever, you know, we don't need to overextend ourselves. We don't need to overstretch ourselves. We just, again, we need to be patient, and we believe that the right opportunity will come, and when it does, we'll take it. But we're not quick, you need to find something else, you know, sort of type of place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, yeah. And so one final question. This multi-unit journey that you've been on,
Yep.
would you do it again?
Yes.
Amazing.
I wish I knew now I wish I knew 20 years ago what I know now. You know, one of the things that excites me is, you know, my oldest kid, boy's 15, you know, and there's so much I want to tell him. I mean, he doesn't want to listen to me anything just now, but, you know, it took me too long to realise the opportunities that are out there, and I want to be able to impart that onto my kids, to say, you know, you could do what I did, but do it 20 years earlier than me, you know, because the opportunities are there.
That's amazing. Thank you for your time.
You're
really
very welcome, Paul.
It.
Thank you.
And hope you have the rest of the day.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers.